Where? Where's my blade? Okay. All right. Jeez. What's going on YouTube and TikTok? I'm doing a bit of sculpting today. So I'm going to be sculpting the inside of a cat jaw for my Action Cat series because I am commission free. Let's put the little chameleon here so we can all see. All right, so I'm just doing the lower part of the jaw at the moment. Just making like a little groove here. Okay, so I want a little bit of a gum line on the corners here, so just going to roll my ball tool just to create that little gum line. And then I can add some teeth to it. So this is going to be a yawning cat with part of my Action Cat series. I'm not too concerned about flattening this out here because there will be a tongue covering it, so I'm not going to go too haywire with that one, with the details. Little hair. Okay, and I got some little notches here for the canines, and I'm going to put in some tiny little teeth here. I'm going to do it all in one though. And then a couple of back teeth. I think I need to get some reference images for the back teeth though, so I get I think that's a good shape. Alright, got a couple of reference images on different angles. Cat teeth. Just need to get a reference image at the back teeth of the cat. That's not a good one. Yucky. That's not a good one. All right, found some. So for the teeth, I'm going to be using translucent Sculpey. This one's probably had it actually. It's a bit fluffy. Chop all the fluff off it. Okay. So yes, I'm using translucent Sculpey. Just needs to be conditioned a little bit. Okay. So I've done a custom color for the gum line and the tongue. I just mixed up a little bit of Super Sculpey and a bit of red paint to make it like a semi-translucent sort of pink color. So that's going to be the inside of the jaw, and I'm going to sculpt another one as well. And this one's going to have like the tongue. So it's going to be a yawning one. And I'm trying to keep it small. So, no, not that one. Oh, I lost my image. There we go. Okay, sorry. So, all right, got some translucent Sculpey. Thanks for the likes, guys. So I'm going to do the back teeth first. So I'm just going to pinch off like a tiny little bit. I'm going to also record this. So I'm going to basically flatten it out to a peak as it is. And then I'll add the details once I've put it on. So this back tooth is quite long. So plonk that on there. It's quite hard to see. And blend it in. So I primarily use translucent Sculpey when I'm doing the teeth. And just like a custom color when I'm doing the gum line. I don't generally paint it. So got one tooth there. So it has one large point there, and then I'm going to bring it down here to create a smaller point. And then, so I've got a bit of a funny back tooth here. Thank you for the follow. So we've got a little back tooth. I don't know if you can quite tell. And then it's got like a little tiny point on the end here. I'm getting this on YouTube too. So a little tiny point. I'm not going to do like an overly complicated point detail either, because it is quite a small sculpt. So you can quite tell that there's a little tooth one. I'll do the same on the other side. So again, rolling it into a little triangle point, and I'm making it quite flat too, into a triangle point like that, and then stick it roughly the same distance. Squeeze it together, and then I'm going to get my tool again. So again, a small little point on that side, and blend it in by bringing a little bit down. And when because you're using translucent Sculpey, the ends that you blend are quite translucent, so it sort of blends really nicely. And then we want that small point here. So I'm just going to take a little bit off. This is a little bit too much clay there. And then we want a little point. So I'm actually going to use my tweezers to create a point, because I can't quite get my finger in there. And then I'll smooth it out. Okay. And then smooth it out. They got quite a really large back tooth there. So we've got the teeth here, 2 back teeth. Now the second ones are a little bit smaller, so I'm going to get 2 equal parts, just so I know they're going to be the same size. And then again, I'm going to roll it into a point. The top teeth are different, so roll it into a point, and then you put it next to it. I'm going to do 2 at a time. 1, and then there's 1 more. Okay, we've got 3. And it's always important to have reference images up so you know what you're doing. So next one. So roughly in the same spot. Might just bring this one back a little bit there. Okay. And then I'm going to get my pointy tool and just blend it in. So they're not really all that round either, so I'm just sort of bringing the edges down and sort of spreading it out, just so there's enough blended in there. So I've got 2, and then it's got a little nick at the back here, so I'm just going to use my needle tool to press that in. I'll take some better photos when it's been finished sculpting. I'll do a little video. So just pinching that end. Thank you for the follow. To make it, you can't quite tell, but it's a little pointier. And the same deal on this side. It's like a little nick there. Pointy up. So obviously they have to be sharp because they're cat teeth. Okay. So you might see little cat teeth there. Just give me a second. I just want to do a quick little process video. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Alright, sorry guys. Back. Just going to redo that a little bit. And then they've got 1 more tooth and it's small and pointy. So again, I'm going to just pinch off a tiny bit that is roughly the same size. Roll it into a point. And this one's just like a single pointy tooth. I'm going to flatten it a little bit. I actually think that might be too big, so I'm just going to chop the end off it. And that sits roughly here. It's got a little bit of a gap, roughly there. Same deal with this side. Just rolling it in my tip just to get that point, flattening it out there. Might just chop that tiny bit of the tip off. Tiny bit. It's really delicate trying to work with tiny bits of clay, especially when you got nails. Okay, and again, let's sit that there. It's pointy. just going to go in with my tweezers just to give it a bit of a point. Accidentally flatten that a little bit too much. But yeah, it's important to get it pointy. All right, now we've got my needle tool and I'm just going to blend that in. Now these don't have, it's just a straight triangle point, so I don't need to add any little notches or anything. So this is just one part of the sculpt. This is just the lower jaw, and because it's going to be yawning, basically I sculpt it in a couple of different parts and then I put it all together. So, so I can sort of, you know, get all these tiny little details, bake it so it's set, and then you add it to the entire head sculpt. Okay, so I'm just going to blend this bit in a tiny bit. All right. So I've got 3 molars, I guess, on the same side. Now I'm going to resculpt this bit because I sort of squashed it a little bit. So I'm going to do the tiny little front piece teeth, I think. So because the teeth are so small, I'm not going to do them individually, obviously. That's just impossible. So basically what I do is I'll get a little strip of the translucent Sculpey. That's probably a bit too much. So I'll just roll it out so it's really thin into like a little tube. I'm going to chop the ends off it so it's nice and square. This is blunt as anything, so otherwise I wouldn't do it on my finger. I don't think that would cut skin like ever. I think you have like better chance of cutting your skin with this ball tool. All right, so we have to do the tiny little teeths. So there's my strip that's there, and then I've got my needle tool and I'm just going to blend that in on all 4 sides. So that's sort of what it looks like at the start. It's just a little strip. And then they're so tiny, so I'm just going to get my needle tool and start pressing in the shape. And again, sometimes less is more as well, so we're just doing the interpretation. And then I'm going to get my ball tool again and push that out a little bit. Okay, it's like impossible to see, but there's tiny little teeth at the front. You can see, yeah, tiny little teeth. Okay, now for the canines, they're obviously a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to cut off 2 pieces of clay, roughly the same. And the canines are obviously not as pointy as the other ones, so they've got a slight curve in them. So I'm just going to roll it in between my fingers. So I have like a rough canine sort of look, how well you can tell. I'm going to do them both the same. Make sure they're looking similar. I want them to both the same size. Okay, I think that's looking good. So we've got one canine there. Thank you for the follow. So I've got it in place and I'm just going to lightly press in the bottom so it blends into the rest of the face. Canines are always the most difficult tooth placement wise. And they got a slight bend in it too. So blending it into the rest of the head. And I want to bring that down. And I've sort of just pushed in this bit here, so it gives it that flat sort of curve. And I'm going to push it together just a tiny bit, and it creates that little canine. And then same deal with this side. So you can achieve a lot with just like slight movements. So the second one's always the most difficult placement. I'm going to turn it around. Because you want it obviously on the same side. So place it roughly there. I'm going to blend it into the head by dragging bits down and across. And then this side, let's blend the gum in a bit more. Push it together, and then I'm going to just, again, this bottom piece here, I'm just going to pull that down a little bit to give it a curve. And you can straighten it out if it's too much of a curve as well. So there's a little bit too much gum line there, so I'm just going to push the gum line back in a little bit. Beautiful. So we have our little basically the lower part of the jaw. This canine needs to be pulled up just a tad, and this one I'll push down a little bit. A little bit of a height difference there. So sometimes that happens. I'm going to pull it down. Beautiful. Okay. I'm just going to clean up this area here. Not too much, because I'm going to put the tongue over the top of it. So, got my reference image for the tongue. I think I'm going to put a little curl at the end of the tongue. Ta. Okay. Now, give me a second. I'm just going to do a quick video. Okay. Now for the tongue. Now, got a little piece here. This piece. Is it going to be enough? Yes, that's going to be enough. All right, so just reconditioning it a little bit. So the tongue, basically just rolling it out into a worm, flattening it. The tongue's quite thin, so just need to measure where it's going to sit. So just stretch it out a little bit to get it thin enough. And okay, so we want to stretch it out like that. Just making sure it's going to sit. So I want it to curl at the end like that, like a yawning cat. I think that's about right. Should pull it up a little bit like that. Just trying to work out where we want it to sit. So if I wanted to either curl up mid and then, okay, I think that's looking all right. So before I curl it, I want the underneath has like a little line. Got my silicone tool, and the line is sort of in the middle. Now what I can do is I'm going to roll out a really thin worm. Okay, that'll work. All right, give me a second. Just doing a little bit of filming. Blip. All right. So I've rolled out this tiny thin strip, and I'm going to place it at the end of the tongue here. This is the underneath of the tongue, by the way. If I can get in the right position. There. Okay. That's going to be like that little ridge type thing. The back of the tongue. Blend that. Just going to blend that with my silicone tool, but I do want to keep that ridge there, so just trying to blend it a tiny bit, and the same side. So just going to roll that just to flatten it a little bit. Okay. Right, so that gives a little ridge. I don't know if the shadow is quite getting it. That gives a ridge underneath the tongue. You can make it thinner if you like. So that curl like that. Okay. All right, so now the tip of the tongue has a little indentation, which I'm going to copy with my silicone tool. Just press it in a little bit and roll it out so it's smooth. Like so. And then I might add the little flicks, you could call it. So basically what I'm going to do is I've got my needle tool and I'm just going to basically flick up little ends here, and that creates like the sandpapery effect. So it sort of flicks up the end there and makes like a little sandpapery texture. So sort of going to keep the ends a bit. I want this to be a bit thinner here because I want to curl it a little bit. But yeah, I'll add the texture first. So basically just sort of stabbing a little indentation in there all the way to the edge. And I might brush this with like a really, really light dry brush of white just to pick up those textured parts. If you look at the cat tongue, it's kind of a little bit white in the middle. So I might try and pick that up once it's been baked and put together. So I kind of enjoy doing all these little finer details these days. I think people are really into the sculpting videos though. They're just like painting, chameleon painting. I suppose it's kind of hard to get the view right on this. Might try a different view, maybe, on the TikTok. Some people are into a different view. Okay, so don't know how well we can see on YouTube. Some texture, kind of. Now, let me try a different view on TikTok. So how's that view? I can't quite see the video that well. Okay. How's that view? I'll be able to see a bit better. Okay. So let me record a little bit. Okay. Now, so I want this back piece here. What I'm going to do is curl this, because we want the curl. And then we want a little bit here. Where's that's going to sit? About there. Like that. So this is why I don't do too much detail on the teeth, because a lot of the detail gets covered. So we want sort of something like that. Probably there. And then I want this here to curl inwards. So make that indentation out there. And then I'm going to redo the texture. And then pull these two together like that. Looks about right. Okay. About there. I reckon, I think that's looking pretty good. Okay. I think that looks like a cat yawning. All right, so I've got some excess here that I'm just going to cut off about there. And I'm going to blend this in at the back here, so it sticks in place. I'm going to restart this live. All right. Now I'm just going to do a little bit more at the back here, so it's sort of at least somewhere connected. Usually when polymer clay is touching it and you bake it, it sort of bakes and sticks together. Okay. I think that's looking pretty good. This song is awful, whatever this is. Heat. All right, so that's looking pretty good for that bottom jaw. Pretty happy with the way that's looking. Okay, so we want to do the upper jaw. Now I've got my clay, which I'll just have to condition a little bit again to begin with. And probably go about this much. Right. So this part is going to be the top jaw, and they have like those little ridges. So basically just flatten it out, get rid of any cracks and stuff that are coming. And this one's a little bit wider than that lower jaw. So it's still the same sort of concept. So we're going to do about here, and then it gets quite wide at the back here. So I'm just going to push that down roughly. So it's going to be like a yawning or so. So quite a long. So I could do the top palette, and then once I put it together, I can add a little bit more at the back here, so it's sort of blended in nicely. So I think this is a good shape. Same size. Okay. And then this front bit is a little bit wider than that lower jaw. So I'm going to flatten it a little bit. And then the canines, I'm going to get this. The canines sort of sit back and off to here, about there. Like that. Just going to put a little mark in. And where that top jaw sits, so it's got a little bit of a buckle in it, like so. So we want a little bit of that buckle. And like there. So the top teeth, I'm going to pull this forward just a tad. The top teeth are going to sit here. And then we've got our canines here. So just a tad bit of a gap. This canine's probably a bit too far down. So I've got a little bit of a gap between these front teeth here. And then I'm going to get my reference image for okay, the top jaw. So there's like I don't know, like two teeth at the top. So there's one really big one. So we've got the canines, then we got a gap, one here and one here. So it's always good to mark out where you want your teeth to sit, so you know you're putting in the right spot. And then a small gap again, and a really big tooth about here. And a really big one about there. So once I add the teeth, then I'll go in with those ridges and sort of pull them out a little bit. But you'll probably have to be a bit thinner than that. But okay. Thanks for all the likes. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to film this little bit here. Okay, sorry about that. Now for the teeth again, we've got our translucent Sculpting. Same deal as what I used for this lower jaw here. And we're going to start off by doing that really big back tooth, I think. I mean, it'll make logical sense to do the front teeth, right? Maybe I'll do the front teeth. Okay, so the front teeth, they're like really, really tiny little teeth. So, because they're so tiny, I'm going to break off a little bit of clay, of the translucent clay. I'm going to roll it into basically like a worm. And I think for the front teeth, I'm actually going to do a little ridge first, because they sort of stick out a little bit, and then the gap there. So for the front teeth, I've just chopped off a tiny bit of the same coloured clay, and that's going to be like that little shelf that the teeth sit on. So I was just looking at, that's why you need to look at reference images. So I'm just going to add that on and just blend that in. Like so. Same deal. So we'll do that. And that. And then blend that in. Like so. So that creates that little top shelf ridge that you can see. That's better. So the teeth will have something to sit on there. And then there's like a little indentation here, which I'm just going to bring out using this ball tool, like the little bit there. Okay. Make sure it's even before moving on, before adding the teeth. That little bit off. Okay, so we've got our teeth line. Thank you for the likes. Got our teeth line. Doesn't matter if it's too big. Someone's calling me. Still calling. Someone's calling me, so just bear in mind. So it's a little bit too big, so what I'm going to do is chop a little bit off like that, and another little bit off like that, and then that ends up the same size, like so. Now I'm going to blend this in. Have a look at these top teeth. This is a good picture. Now, so I'm going to blend this in really gently. Now, the end two teeth are slightly larger than the rest of the teeth. So I'm just blending in the lower ends here. Take that extra bit off. All right, so I'm gonna just chop off a little bit in the middle here. So get my teeth and then chop that. Okay, now I'm going to get my pointy tool and just start creating these little teeth, giving them a little bit of structure. And these end ones are a little pointy, So get my little spoon tool. I just want to make them a tad pointier. Then we can do the rest of the teeth. So just tiny little cat teeth. Teeny. And they're like the tiniest little teeth. I don't know if you look at your own cat's teeth, how tiny they are. Right. I'm going to get my tool and I'm just going to put a curve in it. I'm going to do another tooth on this one because that tooth is slightly too big. So I'm just going to break it up. It's like a crumb or something in there. All right. Okay, so there's our little, you can't quite see, so there's our little cat teeth and the YouTube front cat teeth. All right. Now we've got the canines to do next. Canines here. Now these canines are going to be slightly larger, obviously. Okay. Give me 2 seconds, TikTok, do a quick video. Okay, we're back. All right, canines. Now, canines are quite long, so I'm going to pinch a rough size off. Roughly the same size. And these ones we curl around in our finger. We don't want a really pointy canine, so just twist. I'm going to flatten the bottom. I'm going to do them both at the same time so that I can keep an eye on the size. Again, roll the point, flat, roll. Compare. Roughly the same size. So, and they have like a little bit of a curve in it. And I'm just going to check that they are actually bigger than the lower canines. Yes, because we want them to be a little bit bigger. All right, so canine could go here. So just going to start blending in gum line as well as the tooth, and obviously the tooth has like a little bit of a curve in it, so just going to blend that gum line a bit more because the hole is a little bit big, but blend that in. Like that. And just going to get this just to blend that a little bit on that side. So I've got one canine. And then the next one, we want the same spot. How's that looking? Maybe come forward a little bit, I think. So I look at it from all angles to make sure we're getting the right spacing and everything. All right, so just going to start pushing this gum back up. So check how this looks. Looking pretty good. So it's going to be a very yawning kitty. So like that. Ah. All right. And next we do, so they have a really, really, really tiny tooth. They've got like this tiny little tooth there. 1, 2. I think that's too big, this bit. I'm just going to roll it in a ball and I'm going to put it just here. And then I'll deal with the detail in a minute. Again, I think that's too small. Tiny bit. Maybe this bit. Okay. So I'm just going to put it here. I'm just going to blend it and then I'm going to worry about making it pointy once it's blended. Same deal on this side. Okay, so I'm just going to get my tweezers. And I'm just going to pinch it. Intricate, tiny little, intricate, tiny tooth. Tiny tooth. All right. So I've got 2 tiny, tiny teeth. Okay, TikTok just did a quick video. His teeth are super tiny. All right. Okay, we're back. Now, next tooth. Next tooth is slightly bigger triangle, so let's chop off about that much. And that much again. About that. Just roll it in a ball and then basically squish it into a triangle. Squish. And that one sits about here. And same deal with this one. Do them both at the same time. Squish. That. Put that there. Just move it over a little bit, actually. Too much of a gap. All right, so I'm going to get my pointy tool again. This one's just a straight up point. So I'm not going to worry too much about bending the canines accidentally. I'll fix it up once it's all been sculpted. All right. Blend it in both sides. Oops. Just gonna get my tweezers and point. Now instead like a slight little notch, not much. All right, so that's our pointy tooth there. The next one is a really large one. So look at this picture. So I'm going to get a large bit. Roughly the same size. Might be a bit too much. Tad too much. All right. So this one, I'm going to do like a really big point in it. Long and pointy. I'm not going to worry too much about the points, but that one is going to sit about here. About there. And again. About there. Okay, so blend it in to begin with. And then we'll do the detail once it's sitting on the gum properly. Okay. Oops. We love that we dropped it on a face down. All right, so there is a little point here. Little point there. That leads up to the big point here, and then a little one there. This little point here. And another little point there. Same deal. There, match up, other side. And let me get this to a point. This one's point. Alright. So looks like a yawning cat, doesn't it? Okay. Now the underneath. This one. Alright, so I'm going to have to start mapping out the detailing, like the ridges. So do a quick video on TikTok. Alright, now for the ridges, so I'm going to actually do a tiniest little circle here, put there, and start adding all these little detail pieces. So we have like this little, I don't know, what do you call it, a flick? Little knobbly bit here. Like that. And then we have a sort of little ridge coming down here, like a bend. It's not so much here, it sort of starts midway. Like so. And I might actually use this to create more of a stark line in that ridge. Like that. Smooth it out. Now, for the lines, so we have a couple at the start here. So I'm going to do one Out there. So I've got this spoon tool, which I am just sort of trying to create the little ridges for. So I'm going to push as I'm creating the ridge. That sort of pushes it up a little bit. And another one. The first couple of ridges seem to go all the way across. Where's my silicone tool? Smooth it out. Tiny bit. And then they start to come into this little ridge here. So the last one. And that. So you sort of go and like so, where the gum comes to it. So just kind of like keeping the gum separate. And it's kind of important to do this detailing because the mouth is going to be open, so but it is such a small sculpt, so less is more sometimes. Right, now it starts to get different here. So I'm going to do section so I can still retain this ridge here. Like that. Down. Flatten it a little bit to bring it out that way. Like so. Again, we'll flatten it out this way a little bit. And then separate it from the gum where the teeth are. Okay. And then basically just do that for the rest of them. So I'll just map out where I want them to go first. Go all the way down. Okay. My girl, what are you making today? I'm doing the inside jaw of a yawning cat. It's specific, but yeah, it's going to be part of my action cat series. The first one's going to be a yawning one. Okay. Put the gum line. Okay. Not into that song. All right. Now this is a good picture here. That's a good picture. So actually, I'm going to smooth this bit out actually. Guess it's just me. Yeah, I don't know. People aren't into the sculpting, I don't think. People are into the chameleon painting. But yeah. Don't know. Can't please everyone, I guess. Oh, thank you. A little bit different. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a curve. You never know, TikTok pushes it out sometimes it doesn't. Don't know what the deal is there. Okay, so I'm going with my silicone tool to just sort of smooth it out a little bit. But yeah, I got a whole bunch of sculpting to do because I don't have any dolls to work on, so I need to make more parts for them, basically. Okay, I'll curve this one a little bit too. Like so. All right. So it's basically the inside of the jaw. Yeah, it has a little bit of texturing. So with our trusty pointy tool again. And the texturing is kind of on the inside. So go in with the texturing. That can also sort of move the clay around a little bit to create that ridge that you sort of wanted. Cat's mouths are definitely weird. All right. Okay. I'm just sort of trying to push these little ridges to get more together as well. I don't know what these little things are. They look like little hairs. Little skin hairs. Creepy cat mouth. All right. Now, might. So if you look at the inside of a cat mouth, it's got like these little ridges here, but I might do that once it's been sculpted. So if we peel this off, so this basically just sculpted a palette before I put it all together. So I bake this and then I can start sculpting it together. So this is what we have so far. It's going to be like an open mouth, like so. Yawning. So once I put the doll together, I'll add some more of the pink to blend it in a little bit more. It'll be like a big open cat mouth. Big open cat mouth. Yawn. I think that's a good yawning pose. Sometimes cat faces are pretty hard to sculpt, but yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. Anyway, YouTube can see that well. Some good sculpting. Okay, so that is ready to be baked. Now, also got the inside of a lion's jaw. This one you won't see as much because it's just going to be like a snarling lion, so it'll be more kind of like that. So just a little bit open. You are so amazingly talented. Oh, thank you, Laura. So maybe tomorrow, definitely more sculpting tomorrow. I will bake this today, so I don't like leaving clay that hasn't been baked because it sometimes can get a bit brittle. But yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. So I've still kept a little bit of clay, the same color, so I can sculpt it together. That's pretty good. Anyway, so I'll probably leave it there for today because I don't really have enough time to start sculpting something else. So I'm going to bake this today, and yeah, we'll see whether I do the start on the lion, the female lion, or yeah, continue on with this yawning cat. Anyway, all right, TikTok, I will catch you tomorrow. I'll be on tomorrow about 12:30 till 2-ish. Have a look at my chameleon. I will have to take some photos. I haven't quite finished the claws just yet. I want to put some UV resin on it, so I'll do that, take some photos, do all that mumbo jumbo, then I'll put him up in my shop very shortly. But anyway, thank you, TikTok. I will catch you tomorrow. And YouTube. Oh, shit. Dropped it. Yes, YouTube, I will also catch you tomorrow about 12:30-ish. Again, I'll do some more work on these new dolls. So catch you next time.